So today's tip for you is on watercolor and specifically how to control your paint. So many of my students over the years, especially people that are new to painting or new to watercolor, come to me and they say, oh, watercolor is intimidating, or it's out of control, I'm too much of a control freak, or, you know, I don't like how just unpredictable it is. And I wanted to sort of address that because that is something I hear over and over and over again. And the reason is not so much that the paint itself is out of control, it's that the water is out of control. And so basically, if you want your paint out of control, just add water. And if you want it dry, you know, use as little water as possible. So what I mean by this is when you are loading up your paintbrush, you can see I've got my paintbrush kind of loaded here with this really dark Prussian blue, but I've got just enough water on this paint to bring it to life, but not enough to drip off my brush, right? It's really pretty dry. So right here, I'm painting on something that's completely dry. I've already got this nice coat of cadmium yellow, and I just want to show you guys like what happens if you want to, you know, paint in some little dots, if you want to tap your brush around, if you want to do some lines, if you want to do some wavy lines, you know, you've got just total control. It looks, everything that you put down, you see, nothing is flowing like crazy. There's nothing out of control about this. But what happens when you add water? What happens if you were to, say, work in more of a wet on wet situation? So I'm using the same paint here. It looks a little bit darker when it's wet, and it's wet, you know, it's just doing a nice little wash here. So you guys can see the difference, because if you are new to watercolor, you know, I can totally understand how you think it's out of control. And this is why, you know, if you were to do this same little sort of move, it's like, oh wow, it starts to bloom, it starts to burst, it starts to do some crazy stuff, you know? It's a little more out of control. And if you were to, you know, do even more water, let's get your watercolors really wet and add just a lot of water to them, right? Like super wet. Like this, where you're just got like pools of water. You can see the water actually pooling up like a swimming pool. Okay, so let's try the same thing here and see what happens. Got my blue, let's even add a little bit of water to this blue. Okay, so same dots. Whoa! All of a sudden, oh, little dots. Oh, no, little dots aren't so little. All of a sudden, straight lines start to do, whoa, you get some little like fireworks going. You get some crazy, crazy designs. So, you know, when you look at these compared to this, it's like, it's pretty clear as to the culprit, to the lack of control, and that is the water. So if you guys are having issues with your watercolor, you know, painting practice, if you find it's out of control, it's frustrating, your art's not going in the direction you want it to, I would say do as little water as possible. Just barely wake up your paints. And what I mean by that, you know, when you're looking at like dry paint in your palette, just a drop at a time. Just swirl it around on your paintbrush. Not, you know, there's nothing pooling there. It's just barely waking it up and loading your brush. But you can see it's not dripping off my brush. If your paint's falling off your brush, you got, and for a controlled painting, you have too much water. Now, if you like this look, I mean, it's totally fun. It's just, it all comes down to what you want. But if you're trying to do something detailed, if you're trying to do something more controlled, this is going to drive you crazy, I promise. So try adding water or subtracting water and see how it goes, and let me know.